Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Well, there it is, and I gotta tell you, I'm not surprising. John Bolton has officially been hit with an 18-count federal indictment, and spare me the drama of this being political persecution. Oh, it's fascism, it's Donald Trump's retaliation. No, very clearly it isn't. This guy was just indicted by a grand jury, not by President Trump. And not to mention, this case actually started during the Biden years, which is maybe the dirt that they had on him to get him to flip in the way that he did when he was doing his little media tour trying to convince us that the Republicans have ditched Donald Trump.
I think Trump has been on a downhill slope within the Republican Party since the 2020 election, certainly since January the 6th. I don't know how many Republicans since November the 8th. There's little doubt. I think it's like, frankly, turning a light switch off for Trump's prospects. Trump's influence is declining. There is no Trumpism, and there's no real succession to Trump.
No, very simply, this isn't a Donald Trump revenge story. It's exactly what it looks like, a corrupt Washington ghoul being held accountable for his illegal acts. This warmongering swamp freak who strutted around cable news networks calling Donald Trump a criminal now stands accused of illegally retaining and transmitting classified national defense information. You know, what they attempted to accuse President Trump of doing, even though he was taking his own presidential materials with him, covered by the Presidential Records Act. John Bolton's getting hit with charges under the Espionage Act, and I got a one-word reaction: good. For once, a high-ranking swamp creature is getting held to the same standard as everybody else. You know, like they always told us, no one is above the law. That includes John Bolton. And now, just like President Trump had to defend himself, it's John Bolton's turn. Let me show you guys exactly what's going on. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, so here's the news.
A federal grand jury has returned an indictment against former National Security Advisor John Bolton, but we want to be very careful. This has not been unsealed yet, so we don't know the names of the charges, specifically what charges he's facing, and we don't know how many counts he is facing yet, but we do know that this deals with allegedly mishandling classified documents. His own attorney, Abbe Lowell, who famously represented Hunter Biden, Bill Clinton, Jared Kushner in the past, put out a statement a couple of weeks ago when news was swirling that this may be happening, admitting that Bolton did have classified documents in his possession, but said that those were pre-cleared for the publication of his book. So not much information right now other than to tell you that former National Security Advisor John Bolton has been indicted for allegedly mishandling classified documents. I do want to point out, though, that on August 27th, we were there as FBI agents raided his Maryland home and Washington, D.C. office. Agents were looking for these classified documents. And again, Abbe Lowell said many of these documents, quote, "These are the kinds of ordinary records, many of which are 20 years old or more, that would be kept by a 40-year-old career official who served at the State Department, an assistant attorney general, the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, and the National Security Advisor." He said that these are dated with classification markings from 1998 to 2006. He says an objective and thorough review will show nothing inappropriate was stored or kept by Ambassador Bolton. John Bolton indicted for allegedly mishandling classified documents, and he had said many times in the past during the raid on Mar-a-Lago, or when classified documents were found at President Biden's home in Wilmington, Delaware. Remember, he had an investigation too for classified documents. Bolton criticized both those men, and he said, quote, "Because if the people at the top can be casual about it when they get away with it, that is not a good lesson to teach," end quote. That was John Bolton in 2023.
So there it is. The indictment basically spells it out. John Bolton kept classified national defense documents in unauthorized locations, exactly what he claimed Donald Trump was supposedly guilty of. He also emailed top secret material from a personal AOL email account to some of his family members and other people without clearance. He stored sensitive intelligence documents inside his house. And to make matters worse, at one point his emails got hacked, and he didn't even report it. Obviously, because reporting it would have been, well, what's the word I'm looking for? Incriminating. Make no mistake, folks, this is criminal misconduct. If a private in the Army or a junior NSA analyst did this, they'd likely be serving 10 years in prison. But John Bolton thought he was safe because he was part of the DC protected class. Oh, he's a DC elitist. He's writing his tell-all book where he goes into deranged conspiracy theories about the president, and so obviously he thought he was untouchable. He was licking the boots of defense contractors, and so of course, they were never going to come after him. And does it sound familiar? Because it should. It's actually the Hillary Clinton private server scandal all over again. The same arrogance, the same disregard for national security, the same belief that rules, the laws, yeah, those are only for the peasants, not the important people like Mr. Walrus Mustache Bolton. Enough of the double standards. But really what makes me just so joyous in this occasion, the most satisfying part of this whole story, is that John Bolton, boy did he love the lawfare when President Trump was the target. Oh, he had a score to settle, and so he took to CNN and MSNBC and celebrated the Trump indictments. He told us that Donald Trump was done. This dusty warmongering grandpa lectured us that no one was above the law. Yeah, well, congratulations, John. Now that same frickin' standard applies to you. And trust me when I tell you this guy's gonna need it, because this looks like a slam dunk case. One after another, they're falling like dominoes, and of course, it's not just John Bolton, it's also Tish James. Of course, we've covered the case against Tish James already, but just since we're talking about these corrupt snakes falling one by one, might as well give you guys an update on what's going on here. Yeah, things aren't looking too pretty for big ol' Tish James. Yeah, we're now learning that not only did she allegedly commit mortgage fraud, but now we're finding out that apparently she's harboring a literal fugitive from the law in her home. You know, that home in Virginia that she pretended was her main residence for tax purposes and preferential loan purposes. The Daily Mail's reporting that this is the individual that's been living in her home. It's apparently her niece or grandniece. Her name is Nakia Thompson. She's a fugitive from the law who fled North Carolina to dodge an arrest warrant. And guess what? Tish James seems to be aiding this fugitive by allowing her to live in her home since 2020 rent-free. Holy frickin' moly! The top cop in New York City harboring a fugitive while lecturing the rest of us on the supposed crimes that Donald Trump, the Trump family and organization had committed. Give me a frickin' break. We also have another exclusive, that apparently that's not the only person she's housing. Tish James is also housing a criminal OnlyFans model relative at her other Virginia property, which also faced a federal investigation. An individual by the name of, let me get it here, Kayla Hairston. Here's a photo of Kayla Hairston, an X-rated social media star apparently, with of course a criminal past. Yeah, I guess crime runs in the family now, doesn't it? You gotta love it, and honestly, the doomer inside of me is kind of fading. For so long, I think a lot of us just kind of assumed, these people were untouchable, they were never gonna meet justice. But now the entire anti-Trump lawfare cartel is finally meeting accountability. You got James Comey, Tish James, John Bolton. I guess coming up next is hopefully Fani Willis and Jack Smith. These are people who clearly thought the system would protect them as they weaponized American institutions to crush their enemies. But something has changed. I guess this is the consequence of them losing a massive election. Maybe there's a reason they worked so hard, stooped to such low levels to stop President Trump, probably because they knew that, they had a lot of skeletons in their closet and they didn't want the Trump DOJ snooping around. Well, the Trump DOJ is now unleashing their hounds, and things are getting real interesting. Anyways, that's what I got for you guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.